evening, good evening, good evening. We're late because of Jay. I'm going to get it out there nice and early.
Snitches get stitches where I come from, Mr. B, yeah? Don't know what you lot get up to down in that there London, but where we're from, you don't grass people up. Bang out of order.
It's been so long. How are you doing? How have you been, man?
I'm good, man. I have to admire the coordination that I am seeing from Mr. B. The way your t-shirt blends into your beard is phenomenal. That is like, look at that. It's seamless. It's like you can't even know. Look, you can see it now when you tilt your head back, but when you lower your head, it's the perfect match. You've accessorized your beard and your t-shirt perfectly, man. I'm so proud of you, Dad.
15 all. Oh, Rebel. How you been, man? How you been?
I've been good. It's absolutely sweltering over here in Ireland. After work, I decided, you know what? I'm off down to the beach that's about 5 kilometers away from me, and I threw myself into the sea and had a nice dip. It was a bit cooler, but it was beautiful.
Better you than me, mate. Better you than 5K. Those runs, 5K. That sounds familiar. So you wouldn't do a 5K and then dive into the water afterwards, Jay?
No, I'm not. I'm not big on the cold water. Me, I don't mind a run, but I'm not one for getting in the cold water. I know it's it's refreshing in it and endorphins and all that. I have like 30 seconds in the shower at the end that's cold, but other than that, that's me. Do you know what I mean? Like I'll have a shower and then to the last 30 seconds I'll turn it on to cold, but I would never go and dive in the cold sea. No, I'm not into that call it polar bear stuff, don't I? I'm not into that. What about you, Mr. B? Are you into that? Have you got?
No, I swim like a brick. I don't run more than.
What about if you still using your armbands and
that? I don't go anywhere.
Yeah, if you going in like the shallow end with your ring and that, you know how it is. You know them ones.
Oh God, I can't swim a stroke. I'll be honest. I cannot.
Can you not?
No. Straight down like a brick, man.
I'm okay at swimming. I'm not great. My kids are good at swimming. My two youngest go at swimming lessons and all that. It's just life skills, the mum always says. But yeah, I'm not a great swimmer, to be honest with you. When I go on holiday and that, I just paddle.
I don't even do that. Just in case. Right, guys, look, we're on the road to 4K. We have been here a little while. We've dropped off a bit, but we are back. So we are pushing the 4K figure before the start of the season. When we do, we are going to give away a shirt. Not the signed one. The signed one's for the members. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, we will be giving away a shirt once we hit the $4,000. How we'll do it, I have no idea. We'll talk to Colm. He's the IT guy. He'll get everything sorted. If you are new to the channel, look, hit the like button. Even if it is just once, if you enjoy it, look, subscribe. I mean, look, obviously Jay's not going to be on here every day, but Andy was on here yesterday with his pearls of wisdom.
That is Mr.
So if you have got something, little chew back into yesterday.
Do you know what I love about that, Mr. B? I love the fact that you like trying to get to 4,000 subs. We're going to give away a shirt. Not the signed one, though. That's for the members. Not me. We're not giving you that. We'll find a different one for you lot. But you know what I mean? We've got a good one for the members, but we'll give you something.
No, it's this season. Look, I can't lie.
Come and have a look what you could have won.
Exactly. All they have to do is become a member. That's it. And you're already in for the
What do you get for your membership if you join the members? What do you get?
Every Friday, I've got a Premier League show, and all members are more than welcome to jump on. We've had a couple jump on in the last couple of weeks, but it hasn't been the push that we want. So that's more where we're going to get them on, and then hopefully if they do talk sense and don't abuse us too much, and they don't mind having their beautiful faces on, then once the reaction shows are on and all of those things, then we can move them into that. So that's where we're starting, and hopefully future wise we'll get them on once they show a little bit of common sense. We've got people out there who do talk sense in the chat but are too scared to to put it out there. So yeah,
Good stuff, man. Looking forward to seeing that. The when's that? The Friday night Premier League show for the members.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's the mix zone. So we've got a couple of them. We've got Arsenal guy in there. Can't abuse him. We don't abuse him. He's a really, really cool guy. We've got a Liverpool guy. It's not a shouty one. It's not a ragey one. We try and have, a little bit of debate. Obviously, it's a Friday night, so yeah. I tend to have a little drink on a Friday, little drink of water on a Friday. So yeah, it tends to go a little bit that way, but nothing too messy, nothing too sweary. Just talk about all things Premier League, to be fair.
Looking forward to it, man.
Right, Jay.
Yes.
You're here now. I've got one question to ask you first. Should we have sold Bruno?
No. God, no. Oh, man. Mr. B. Seriously. Come on here. I've not seen you for years. You know what I mean? You didn't send me a Christmas card. I did it for you on my birthday. You know what I mean? You didn't send my kids a Christmas card, your grandkids. And then I see you for the first time in years, and your question is, should we have sold our best player? Our only player that actually turned up on any sort of consistent basis last season? No, absolutely not. Look, I get Bruno has his faults, right? I understand that. I understand that there's times he can be a little bit frustrating. There's times when he tries to do too much. But he is legitimately one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. He is. By any metric, you look at his stats, you look at his performances, his record-breaking numbers, the amount of chances he creates, and look at what he's surrounded by. It's no coincidence, right, that Bruno broke the record for goals and assists when he had better players around him. When he had a front three of Martial, Rashford, and Mason Greenwood scoring 60 goals between them, when he had Paul Pogba and Nemanja Matic alongside him, he was unplayable. He was. Everyone was like, what is going on? He's breaking every record under the sun. And even post that, he's still done well. But you've got players in front of him who've got 4 Premier League goals, 3 Premier League goals, 2 Premier League goals. You've got players alongside him who are a constant merry-go-round. 1 minute it's Casemiro, 1 minute it's Ugarte, then Kobe Mainoo's back in the team, then someone else will come back in. You've got a defence behind him that's been another merry-go-round. And yet the one consistent performer who's been putting goals and assists up and decent showings in is Bruno. Now, Manchester United finished 15th last season. And I honestly think if it wasn't for Bruno, we would have been in a relegation fight. Yeah. Now, the counter-argument would be, well, we'd get 100 million for him or whatever, and we'd reinvest that. We'd reinvest it, and we'd get half a new team for 100 million. It'd be much better than Bruno Fernandes. And I say, all right, okay, let's look at it this way. The last figure that was touted for Bruno Fernandes was 80 million quid, right? That was the last time we heard about a bid coming in from Saudi. I think it went from 200 million to 100 million to closer to 80 million, right? Let's say we got 80 million. For example, just humour me. We got 80 million quid for Bruno Fernandes, and we went and bought another Ugarte, another Joshua Zirkzee for 90 odd million. Maybe even you bought I don't know. Who else have we bought recently? Maybe you bought someone like Delict, who I rate. Have all those players done what we needed them to do last season? Ugarte was dropped for the final because of his poor performance against West Ham. Zirkzee, who I like. I think he's a good ball player. He scored, 4 goals in the Premier League, I think, maybe 5. And Delict, who I really rate, was injured for a big chunk of the season. And that's been a problem throughout the last couple of years for Delict. I think I still rate him, but he's had injury issues. So you could end up spending that 80 million and not being any better off, or having players that aren't quite there yet. And now you've lost your best player. Your player that plays every single week. He's the only player I know, other than maybe Nusair Mazraoui, who plays every single week for Manchester United. He's the only player I know that turns up pretty much every single week. And when no one was scoring, he was the only one who was capable of popping up with a goal. So yes, he does try to do too much at times, but I don't blame him when you look at what he's surrounded by. And when he's surrounded by quality, we've seen better performances. And I think if Manchester United had to move forward and we had to try and challenge up the top end of the table, then the one truly world-class player we've got, you need to keep it. You need players like Kobe Mainoo to be learning from Bruno Fernandes, not getting rid of Bruno and taking a punt on bringing in someone else. Like, I don't even know. You look at the midfielders who've been linked with. Edison, I think, from Atalanta. Massive gamble. Decent player, but a big gamble. Is he going to come in and do the job that Bruno Fernandes can do? I don't think he is. So for me, whilst it's all well and good saying, oh yeah, we could have got 80 million quid for him and we could have reinvested that. Okay, we could have. But then again, we could not have reinvested that in a way that moves us forward because let's be honest, we spent a load of money last transfer window and we finished 15th and our best player was Bruno Fernandes.
Can I actually add to that? Let's just say we get Mbeumo across the line. Let's just have a bit of faith for a minute. So obviously Mbeumo and Cunha are more than likely going to be our starting 10s. That probably puts Bruno in the 8. How critical is it to address the 6th position to ensure that we have a bit of solidity in front of the back 3?
How crucial is it? What? Sorry,
that we address the 6th position. Then, if we have Bruno in the 8, to provide a bit of stability in the back.
What would your system be where Bruno's in the 8?
Well, I'm assuming that Ruben Amorim is going to continue with his tactic of 3 at the back, the 2 wing backs, the 6 and the 8, and then his 2 10s and his striker.
Right. So it's like a 6 and an 8. Someone sits in deep, and then the 8 is up and down. You would imagine that Ineos or Ruben Amorim or whoever, well, not or whoever, would at least think there's another season of giving Ugarte a chance. I imagine that is the case. Now, I know Ruben Amorim had enough of Manuel Ugarte after that West Ham game. You can tell it, he did. Manuel Ugarte got bullied, didn't get up, West Ham scored, and he was dropped after that. And I don't think that's a coincidence that he was dropped. I think Ruben Amorim was fuming with him and thought, that's not acceptable. So I think there's a chance that, I don't think that's the end of his United career. I think there's a chance he gets another opportunity in that 6. Ruben Amorim, let's not forget, has managed him before at Sporting. I think he gets the opportunity because I don't think Casemiro's that guy. And I think Casemiro, whilst he did quite well towards the end of the season, particularly in the Europa League, I don't think he's going to age like fine wine. I don't think he's going to be better this season than he was last season. And I don't think he's got the legs for the Premier League. I just don't. So I think you're more than likely going to see Manuel Ugarte in that role. Potentially, you see Kobbie Mainoo in that role. And maybe Bruno doesn't have to be quite the 8. Maybe you almost have 2 6s. Because let's not forget, if you've got Mbeumo and Cunha, those as 2 10s are a lot better than some of what we've been seeing recently. Now, I like Ahmad. Not dissing Ahmad. But Garnacho was off the boil, wasn't he? He really was. Marcus Rashford played there for a little while, did okay. Mason Mount came in there for a little while, did okay. But I think that with Mbeumo and Cunha, you can have Bruno sitting a little bit deeper, maybe, almost alongside Ugarte, and that could work. I think it'll be Ugarte. I think Mainoo will get some opportunities as well. Maybe now and again Casemiro. Who knows what he's going to do in terms of some of the younger lads. I don't think he's going to really trust any of the academy lads in that role. But that's how I'd see it going. I'd see for the start of the season, Manuel Ugarte being given the opportunity to show what he can do because we spent 50 million quid on him. He did all right in his first season. I just think he's still got to do a little bit better.
And speaking of Ahmad, obviously we saw him play in the right-hand wing back position at the start of last season. Is that something that we could see him doing a bit of a tandem with Mbeumo on that right side?
100%. I think that's a shout. I think if Mbeumo comes in, Ahmad will be a wing back. I do. I think when he first came in, Amorim was using Ahmad at that wing back role, and he did quite well there. I don't think it was a case of Ahmad playing poorly at the wing back that moved him up into the 10. I think the issue was we weren't getting enough goals, and Ahmad was one of the few players who could get you goals. I think he was our second top scorer last season in the Premier League. So I think Ruben Amorim was like, look, I can't almost waste him as a wing back. I need him nearer the business end of the pitch because there's no other goals coming from this front line. The only other goals are coming from Bruno in midfield. And, I think, was it 23 games or something? 1 goal in 23 games from Garnacho at one point. 1 goal in 24 from Rasmus Højlund. The numbers were ridiculously bad. So I think he looked at it and went, look, I've got to have someone up top who can get me something. Because even though I do like Joshua Zirkzee, he's not an out-and-out goal scorer. So I do think, no, you're right. I think if Mbeumo comes in, it'll be Mbeumo, Cunha, maybe Zirkzee if we don't bring anyone in. Maybe he gives Højlund another chance. Maybe further down the line towards the sort of middle end of the season, you see Morichito. I don't know. But I do expect if we get Mbeumo and Cunha playing, I think he's going to try Ahmad as a right wing back because I think he really like that. I think he was going for that. And I think you saw the game against Everton in particular at Old Trafford where Ahmad was amazing in that role. He really was. It's just you needed him on the business end of the pitch, and we saw what he did at the Etihad, where he forced them 2 goals, didn't he? He scored one and created the other by just him pressing on the goalkeeper, pressing on the last man, being that guy. So I understand why Ruben Amorim was like, look, I've got to use him in an attacking sense.
So the players that you just named, you've named -9 still in the team. You've still got Ugarte still playing. This is without signings. You're not. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know who's coming in. Do you think that there needs to be improvement? Bar obviously, Onana and the front line. Do you think he would be happy just to replace those 2 players, or do you think that he actually does need to bolster somewhere else on the pitch?
I mean, in an ideal world, there'd be a few positions I think he'd want to bolster. To be honest with you, Mr. B, I think in an ideal world, I think he'd want a new goalkeeper, and I think he'd want a new striker. I like a number 9 and a number 1. I think you look at the problems we've had last season, and normally you'd be going, right, we've got to fix that. I think the issue is money. We haven't got enough money to do what he wants to do. It looks like we've probably got enough money for Mbumo, but then you've got to sell to buy. And as it stands right now, no one's buying Rashford, no one's buying Sancho. There's talk of Real Betis coming in for Anthony, but maybe at a cut price. Even Tyrell Malacia, he's struggling to move on. So until we move players on, I think he's just literally going, right, get Mbumo in and then get rid of some players before we start worrying about what else we need to do. Because as it stands, Manchester United haven't got anything to spend. We've got enough for Mbumo, just about. I think even that's a stretch because I think what they were banking on or hoping for was that we'd get Cunha and then Delap, because Delap was 30 million for his buyout. That was 90 million quid, which we had. We had without sales. It was like, that's no drama. And then would be, we could sell to buy elsewhere, but we haven't been able to get Delap, obviously, because he went to Chelsea. But Mbumo's cost a little bit more, which is why you're seeing this haggling over this 2 million quid. I think it's like 62.5. Brentford wants 65. And we've got to this sort of impasse because United are so sort of tight with money and skin at the minute. Every penny counts. I'm just hoping that maybe the Elanga deal and potentially the Alvaro Fernandez deal can bring in like there's talk of it bringing in like an extra 15 million in total, or 12 or 40 and 15 million, whatever it is. Maybe some of that though can go towards Brian Mbumo. I don't know.
Actually, Jay, you segued nicely into a question that I had for you. We're looking at 55 million for Elanga now between Forest and Newcastle. Potentially 50 odd million for Alvaro Fernandez to go to Real Madrid. That's 100 and odd million in transfer fees for players that have left us in the last 18 months to 2 years. And we sold them for peanuts. Does that kind of show how inept we have been in sales for the last, decade, 13 years?
Yeah, 100%. I always get annoyed. And I think sometimes United fans, because like we've sort of got frustrated with a player and fell out with a player almost, and we've had enough of a player, we just want to see him gone. Now you look at Alejandro Garnacho, and people will think I'm insane, right? Garnacho should be a £60 million player. He should be a £60 million player, right? He's 20 years old. I think he's still 20, maybe 21. Very young. He's played 140 games, is it, for Manchester United now? 147 games, something like that. Even last season, where everyone thought he was not that great, he had, 20 goal involvements? You're seeing players a lot older than him with fewer goal involvements going for 55 million quid. We should be getting 60 million quid for him. We should. Because there's a player that potentially you could sell him and he could go on and have, do 6 or 7 years at a club, scoring him over 100 goals and getting God knows how many assists. And you've seen what his ceiling is. It's very high. When Garnacho's on it, he carries the ball well. He can create. I know I said earlier, he had a bad season last season at spell where he had like 1 in 24. But we've seen Garnacho. We've seen Garnacho create goals out of nothing. We've seen him win a Puskas Award. We've seen him do all these things. We've seen him tear Manchester City apart at Old Trafford a couple of seasons ago. We've seen that player who, even on a bad day, can still carry the ball forward into that final third very well, almost as well as anyone. I think his decision-making can let him down and he can be a frustrating player. But he's someone, for me, because of the market and because of the way other players are going and because of what he can still offer someone, you should be getting 60 million. And there's a chance we get like 40 million for him. because it's what we do. And it's like, oh, he's got just get him out the door. Dean Henderson, England goalkeeper, 12 million when James Trafford will go for 19 million, who's been in the third tier of English football. Anthony Elanga, 15 million, get him gone. And then he has, 2 good seasons at Forest, and they're selling him for 55, 60 million. We should be a little bit better at sales, you're right. And especially now when you look at clubs and what they're doing, clubs are getting rid of players who've had one decent season for them for 40, 50 million. And that doesn't happen with United. Even someone like McTominay, with all he had to offer, with all his experience, you didn't get big money for him. The Mason Greenwood would want to get because he had to go. It was like, let's get him out the door because of obvious issues there, and I understand that one. But I think in terms of sales, I think Dan James is still one of our most profitable sales. And I think he's like number 4 or 5 on the list. And, we made about 17 million quid on him or whatever it was. It's ridiculous for a club the size of Manchester United. Should be doing much better.
Actually, you mentioned Anthony Elanga, 55 million. You probably watch the Twitterverse as much as I do, and they're losing their minds that we can't sell Marcus Rashford for 55, 60 million. And I did a quick calculation, even assuming that Elanga doubles his money at the Magpies to 50k. Over the life of a 4-year contract, that roughly works out as 40-odd million in savings between getting a Rashford in and getting an Elanga in. Is that kind of a big factor in our problems with selling these players?
Yeah, you're right. The wages are ridiculous. Like, you look at Sancho at Chelsea. Now, we had Carl Anker on the channel, and he said Chelsea offered Sancho, I think, 90k a week, which to them is like the top end of their wages. I think the highest earner at Chelsea is on like 100 odd, or just 100 grand maybe.
Really?
It's not as much as you think. They have what they do at Chelsea, they give you a longer contract for 9 years. There's a lot of incentives, and there's a big signing fee, I think, as well. Wow. So you get there's a reason that these players sign long contracts at Chelsea. They get looked after. I'm not saying they're on pennies, but it's not like 250, 275k a week, which is what Sancho roughly is on at United. I think it's almost 300k a week, but I think he lost some money because of the lack of Champions League football. So you struggled to get that match. This is why Jadon Sancho didn't stay at Chelsea, because he didn't want to take a big pay cut. It's why Marcus Rashford is still at Manchester United, even though United are announcing that Matheus Cunha is the number 10 and he's taken Marcus Rashford's shirt number, because no one's coming in with that kind of wage, because those wages, the Sancho wages, the Rashford wages, the Casemiro wages, are among the top earners in Europe. They're not just, look, you're not talking about the top earners at United. You're talking about players that are earning almost as much as anyone in European football. So who's going to match that for a player like Rashford, who's had an okay spell at Villa? I thought he did all right. 4 goals was it, and 7 assists. It was all right. It's not amazing. He had a decent second half against PSG and showed some signs, but I don't think he set the world alight. Jadon Sancho did all right when he went to Chelsea. Scored obviously in the Europa Conference final, but he didn't start that game. He wasn't a starter in the biggest game for them. And also he went 14 goals without a goal or an assist during the course of that spell on loan. So it's a bit of a risk for a club to come in and go, all right, well, we'll give him £1 million a month in wages. That's the issue Manchester United got. So you're right, Rebel. I think if these players were on 80k a week, it'd be manageable. I think Jadon Sancho would have been at Chelsea by now. I think Marcus Rashford, Barca or someone would have been in for him, because they'd have gone, look, we can pay him that, no doubt. But you got to remember, if you're at a club like that and then someone comes in and you're giving them big wages, some players in their contracts will have, I need to get parity with whoever comes in as the top earner. So that might force other players' wages up as well, because that can sometimes happen with players where they'll have it in their contract that if someone comes in and gets a deal that takes them into the top bracket, then they have to join them in that top bracket. So it's just a massive headache for the club to move these players on. And it's probably part of the sort of the fallout and the repercussions of the John Murtagh, Ed Woodward, Richard Arnold era. I don't think this is Ineos. I think Ineos have said, look, we need to have a limit on wages. And it ain't 340k or whatever it is that Marcus Rashford signed his deal for when he scored 30 goals that season.
Just something just got sent to me. Rashford was at training At the training ground today. Training.
Yeah, I think I'm not. I think I saw something online. I think he was given a little bit of an extra time on it, but then if he's back in today, that wasn't much extra time considering I think everyone else was in yesterday. So obviously he needs to train. We're trying to sell him. I think he's going to end up on pre-season tour if we don't sell him. I don't think they're not going to take him on tour. They did it with Sancho, didn't they, last season?
You think they'll take him?
Oh, if you don't sell him, 100%, I think we will. I'd be surprised if you didn't take him on tour. I would, because you're trying to move him on. You're trying to sell him, and
you think that would be the same with Garnacho, Malacia, and as well? I don't think Sancho.
I think I don't know. You know, Sancho and Ten Hag fully fell out. They fully fell out, and Sancho went on pre-season because the club were trying to get him a club. The club were trying to move him on, trying to keep him fit, trying to get him a team and a club. And I think it's very difficult to do that if you've got a player where you're just going, look, I can't even take him on pre-season. He's just, you know, we're keeping him at Carrington just doing his own thing. I don't know. I think because of the Sancho thing, I think, yeah, he probably will go on pre-season. I might be wrong, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just took them all. If they can't move any of them on and they've only got, what, is it 14 days, 15 days before we fly out?
In around, yeah.
You think Mbeumo comes in before that?
Yeah, I think so. I'd be surprised if we didn't get Mbeumo done before we go out to the States. Is it Leeds first? Is it Leeds? Yeah. When is that? Is that where is that the Leeds game?
The 13th? Is it the Leeds?
Is that in Scandinavia?
Yeah, Scandinavian game.
Yeah. So I don't know what goes on there. Maybe take him for that game, but I think they might end up going on the tour. We'll have to see. Depends. I don't know because this is Amorim's first pre-season. So Amorim might be different and he might be, look, I ain't having him. I don't care. I'm not having him on pre-season in the squad. I don't know. That might be his attitude. But just from what I've seen in the past, even players that have fallen foul of the manager have ended up going on pre-season. So if that's the case, then yeah, I think he'll go.
God. You think we've shot ourselves in the foot with publicly announcing that all the players are available and us not having any money?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because I think you could say, well, we shot ourselves in the foot by being so transparent about not having any money. But if we said we had more money, then would Brentford be asking for more money? I don't know. Is my honest answer. I think there is an element of argument to both sides where you can go, well, if United went, oh yeah, we don't need to move these players on, we've got money, then Brentford might be like, right, well, we want 70 million for Mbeumo if you've got money. I don't know. Do you get where I'm coming from? It's difficult when you try to sell and buy players. How do you sort of counter that? How do you promote the idea to teams you're trying to sell players to that you're not skin and you're not going to take anything, whilst also trying to put across the idea to teams you're buying players from that you don't have loads of money to spend? It's almost impossible, isn't it? I think you just got to be pretty transparent about it. And I think most journalists, most clubs, most experts will work out, look, United with our wage bill, United with finishing 15th in the Premier League, United with all the cuts we've been making, you can't be laying off 250 staff from your club and telling everyone you've got loads of dough. United not having European football, let alone Champions League football. It's obvious we're not rolling in money at the minute. Because if we are, okay, why is the mass redundancies? And why were we so bothered about the revenue from the Champions League? Because that was a big thing, wasn't it? We weren't just being in the Champions League, it was the revenue. So I think just logic would say, well, United finished 15th, didn't get European football, have all these wages that we've still got to pay, big wages, and also I've laid off a load of staff. I think anyone with half a brain would say they're a bit skint.
That actually leads me to a question that I saw mentioned on another channel. We obviously are seeing Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City, and one or two others spending bare cash. Is there a point where if Manchester United don't start regularly getting back into the big European competitions, that the damage could be so deep that it will be impossible for us to close the gap in the future? Is there a fear that if we don't actually make a big impact in this summer and next summer, that we could be in big trouble?
I think we could be in trouble in terms of how long it takes us to get back amongst the top teams. It might be a long process. I mean, look, when I was a kid, I remember seeing United win the title, and it was our first title in 26 years. Now, where Manchester United are at now, we've just finished 15th. It could be another 26 years before we won a title. Like, we're as bad now as we've ever been in my lifetime. So what's to say we don't go another 20 years without winning a title? Well, it can happen. The Scousers just went 30 years without a title, didn't they, until Klopp won them the first one. It happens. And sometimes you think, oh, it'll never happen. Of course it can. It does. So it might take, I don't think it will, but it might take a few years before we're challenging at the top. That is a concern. I think eventually, Manchester United, because of the size of the club, because of the academy we've got, will be there or thereabouts eventually. But it might be a bit longer than many of us hoped because of the mismanagement that's gone on under the Glazers, that has set us back decades, and the fact that a lot of teams above us are in a pretty stable position. If you look at some of the teams that are above Manchester United, Arsenal, I think, have got quite a decent, youngish squad. They've made some decent signings. I think they're looking in a fairly secure position for the next few years, in my opinion. I don't really see them dropping off massively. City, there's always the charges, but I'm not holding my breath there. As long as Pep Guardiola's there, they're going to be there or thereabouts. Also, even without Pep, let's not forget, they won 2 titles without him before he got there, under Manuel Pellegrini and Roberto Mancini, who are hardly the greatest managers ever. They've got a decent setup there, it pains me to say. Quite a lot of, good youngsters in and around the academy, and they've always got money. They'll always find a way to spend money. We know that. They're looking all right. Liverpool are looking all right. They seem to have a really good manager in Arne Slot. Again, they've always had a decent academy, Liverpool. That hasn't changed. And they've got a pretty decent team. They've got 1 or 2 players who are coming towards the end of their career, which I think might hurt them in the short term, in the likes of Mohamed Salah and Virgil van Dijk. But they have got some good young players coming through. So I don't see Liverpool dropping off anytime soon. Then you look at other clubs. Chelsea seem to have found a sort of crazy formula that works for them. So again, they're thereabouts. And then you ask yourself questions like, what's happening with Newcastle? They look all right-ish. Are Spurs going to get their act together under Thomas Frank? 1 or 2 other clubs, the likes of your Brightons and teams like that are Villa, that are all right. So there's a sort of scenario where United could be sort of 6th or 7th or 8th for the next few years. And you might not even look at that as a disaster. You might go, actually, if you look at the teams above us, that's not too bad. But from a Manchester United fan point of view, finishing 6th, 7th or 8th should be the lowest you expect, not the best. So I think the next few years could be ropey, but I think longer term, we should be all right. Especially, I think, is what we're being told, Ineos are focusing on more the long term rather than the short term. And I think our academy in particular has got a big part to play in that. And I know we're saying that quite a lot over the years, but I do feel like now there's been a lot more focus on bringing in young players. It's very rare that Manchester United go out and sign 17, 18-year-olds and then give them first team chances. And we saw that with Aiden Evan. 18 into the first team, did very well before he got injured. Chido, I think he was 16 when he joined. Within 6 months, he's in the first team. Quite rare that for United. And this is something that we're looking at now, is getting really young players in with a view to, can they be sort of the future stars?
There's a couple of interesting comments around the stadium. Obviously, there's probably a body of land that Manchester United don't own around Old Trafford. How worried would you be if we're not seeing those parcels of land picked up over the next 12, 18 months? Because there was a story, I think it was The Athletic, that said that Inter have also hired the same stadium company as Manchester United. And because obviously they have Euros and there's a lot of stadiums being done up in Italy, Ineos allegedly are worried about their ability to deal with Old Trafford 2.0 or whatever it's going to be called.
I went to the meeting about the stadium at Old Trafford where they announced it. Like there was the initial announcement of we're either going to do this new stadium or we're going to revamp Old Trafford. And I walked away from that meeting thinking they're gearing towards a new stadium. That's what they want to do. It was where Colette Roach and a few others spoke from the club, and they showed you the plans, and you thought, look, they want to do the new stadium. Then we had the announcement that it's going to be this new stadium. It's going to be the one that you see the design with the trident, looks like a circus tent, and which is quite apt in it. And it was a 100,000 seat stadium. I don't think you're going to see that design, and I don't think you're going to see a 100,000 seat stadium because I don't think that is cost effective from what I've read. But I do think you will see a new stadium. Now, in terms of what you mentioned about the land and stuff like that, I think there was some issue with the freight terminal because to do the stadium the way to do, they had to sort of move the freight terminal. I don't understand everything about that. I'm not going to pretend I do. But from what I gather, there is a confidence amongst United or within United that that can be done and this stadium can be built. I just don't think you're going to see the 100,000 seat stadium. Most stadiums now, when you see in America that get built, new stadiums, 80,000, 70, 80,000 is usually the mark because to go that bit further, to go to 100,000, the amount it costs and the amount it brings in, it's not worth it. You're better off having an 80,000 seat stadium or an 85 maybe than a 100,000 seat stadium, if that makes sense. And I think there's a lot of ego involved in a 100,000 seater stadium. It's an arbitrary number that 100,000 sounds mint. Wow. But when you do the crunch the numbers, actually, it doesn't need to be 100,000 in terms of what it brings in revenue-wise and what that means in terms of the building and everything else. I think you can get away with... I mean, I'd love a 100,000 seat stadium, but I'm just a fan. I'm not an architect or a builder or part of Ineos. So I think it might be lower. And I think that those tridents, I don't think that'll happen. Again, people I've spoke to know far more than me say, look, when designs are first released, they'll look like something. And then when you get it built, they'll make changes and they'll go, actually, we've rolled back on this. We've not done that because of A, B, C, or D. So I wouldn't be surprised if they got rid of the tridents and it was 80,000 rather than 100,000.
Actually, interestingly, if you ever looked at some of the articles that they mentioned about the Bernabeu and the Nou Camp, apparently those stadiums are generating $1 million a day on average for their club. So that's an extra potential income of $300.
$1 million a day.
$1 million a day. Sorry, $1 million a week. My apologies.
Oh.
365 million a year. That would be a significant amount of money coming into the coffers, wouldn't it, Jay, if we were able to kind of replicate that?
If we were to do something like that, fantastic. Because it's not just a stadium, is it? It's surrounding the stadium. It's going to be this whole sort of, whatever it's called, sort of
concourse.
Yeah, concourse. It's going to be like everything around it, the shopping, the events they'll put on. You've seen it on a sort of similar idea at the Etihad with the arena they've got there and one of the other little bits around that East Manchester. So I think the idea is to have this sort of area where you've got that whole sort of full day experience. It's not just the stadium, the shops and everything around it. So I understand that is the way a lot of clubs are going, and that is part of the idea. There was talk that it's going to bring 7 billion to the economy or whatever, and Manchester United are going to obviously get a lot of that revenue, and it's going to bring in 100 extra, or what is it, 150,000 jobs or something like that. So these plans sound very great, sound positive, but they're very grandiose, and I don't know how realistic it is. If you get to a point where, as you've mentioned there, Camp Nou and the Bernabeu, you're bringing in £1 million a week from your stadium, then fantastic. But like everything that's promised with Manchester United, I'll believe it when I see it.
There's one other interesting question from Tactical Devils. I'm going to borrow it. So Amorim said the good times are coming. So what's the deal? Was he sold a dream? Did the ownership lie to him? Did they overpromise stuff that they can't deliver? Or are they incompetent?
I think he was honest. And he said that. That speech that's being referenced there when he said the good times are coming. If you listen to that full speech, because I was at the Villa game when he said it. And he said, what happened was, after a few games, I think United had drawn 1 and won 2. And he said, a storm is coming. And he warned us. He said, look, don't get carried away. This is going to take a while to fix. and we've got a lot of problems kind of thing. And then when he mentioned about the good times are coming, he said, I warned you. I said, a storm's coming. Now I'm telling you, the good times are coming. And I think that was the right thing to say. It made sense. And it's what you wanted to hear. It was a week after we'd just been knocked out or just lost the Europa League final, last game of the season. You wanted to hear a little bit of something positive. And he always says the right things for me, Ruben Amorim. So I got that. I think Ruben Amorim wanted to come at the end of the season for a reason. I think he could see the issues at United. You had players underperforming. You had players that weren't good enough. You had players who were on overinflated wages. You had players who had fitness issues. It was a bit of a car crash, and I think he could see that. And he was at a sporting team that was on course to win their title again. And it's not like Sporting, I think, had won 2 titles under Ruben Amorim, and those are the only 2 titles he'd won in the last 20 years. So winning a title there, another one would have been a big deal. That would have been his 3rd title, I think, in 4 years, whatever it is. So I could understand why he was like, I probably want to stay here for the next 7 months, but United were keen to get him in straight away. So I don't necessarily think he was sold a dream or he was missold something. I think he knew to a certain degree what was going on and that there was massive problems at Manchester United. The only question is, and I don't know the answer to this, and only Ruben Amorim and Ineos will know this, what was he told in terms of transfers in the summer? What was he promised? Did they say to him, you're going to have 100 million quid or 200 million quid, no matter what? Or did they say to him, look, if you get Champions League football, we will give you extra money. If you don't, this is the budget you've got to work with. Did they say you've got 120 million to start with, everything else comes from player sales? I just don't know. I don't know if he was sold a missold a dream. I think he was an intelligent guy who kind of knew what he was getting. And I think he said things that indicated that to me. So I do feel for Ruben Amorim because he inherited a mess. But I also feel as well, he's got to do a little bit better next season. I think he gets a pass for that first season, even though it was terrible finishing 15th. But next season, I think he's got to do better. The only added sort of bonus for us is I think he will.
So is that you think that's Rebel? You think that's tactically? Because obviously he might not get the players that he's going to get. He's had a fair chunk to look at what the Premier League is about. Do you think he's going to tactically check? He's not going to change his formation. To be fair, I'm glad he hasn't changed his formation. But this season we're going to see the true. We'll hopefully see more of what Amorim is about. Do you think he's going to have, the defenders making the line breaking passes more instead of just, sitting waiting for the press and trying to play themselves out? Do you think he'll have, the maybe more dynamic wide players? Do you think that's something that he's going to be looking at, or do you think he's going to stick to exactly what he did?
No, I think it's a good question. I think a lot of it depends on signings is a thing, injuries is another thing. He was hammered by injuries last season, and people almost not everyone forgets that, because you look at those players that can do the things you mentioned there, Mr. B. Lisandro Martinez is one of the best players, I think, as a defender for receiving the ball and moving it forward and making those passes that you need. He was getting back to his best, his old Lisandro Martinez that we saw in that first season in Tanguy. Even started scoring goals. He gets injured. Aiden Evan comes in and he looks like a sort of perfect replacement. He gets injured. Matthijs de Ligt was showing us what he was about. That player that we saw at Ajax and at Bayern and at Juve. Then he gets injured. Just from a defensive point of view, there was a time, I think, where his entire first choice back three was injured. I think if everyone's fit, the back three is Martinez, Yoro, and de Ligt. And I think at one point, all three were injured. And it was like Lindelof, Fredrickson, and Maguire, which, no disrespect to those players, but that's frustrating for a manager when you've got like your back three that can play so well and do the things you want them to do are out. And we saw from Lenny Yoro as well how good he can be. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. So if some of those defenders can stay fit, that's going to be a massive advantage for him. I think he needs at least two of those players that I've mentioned to be available, either whether it's Heaven or Martinez or Yoro or de Ligt. I think you need a couple of those in your team. Even Luke Shaw, I know he didn't have a great final, but even him, left centre-back, can offer you a little something if he's fit, which is a massive if because he's always injured. Then you look at the wing-backs. Patrick Dorgu, I think there's a player there. I do. I want to see more of him next season. I think he can be the kind of player that Ruben Amorim needs. I always give new signings at least 6 months. You've got to. He came in January. He's come from Lecce, which is not comparable to Manchester United. And he's just getting used to the Premier League, he's getting used to being in England. You've got to give him more time. And I think I've seen enough from him to think there's a player there. As you mentioned in there earlier, Rebel, if you had Ahmad as a wing back, Ahmad and Dorgu as wing backs, that's a threat. That is a threat going forward. It really is. And I think that's the kind of wing backs that would work in the Ruben Amorim system. Let's say, for the sake of argument, you don't have Ahmad, you use him as a 10. Can Delo be that guy? Maybe he can. I think Amorim likes Delo. He plays a lot of football. So maybe that can be the case. And I think in terms of the midfield area, I always rate Bruno. I love Kobe Mainu. I think those players are good players. So for me, the biggest question I've got in terms of that's Miss Man United, my missus, she loves Delo. She's off her head. The biggest sort of question I've got with this next season is Onana going to step up? Are we going to see the performances from him we need? And whoever's in that number 9, are they going to do what's needed?
Interestingly, you mentioned the wing backs, Jay. And also we know that there's a possibility of Ahmad being on the right, Dalot being on the right, and Maz being on the right. But look at Dorgu's side. In the event that something does happen to him during the season, we're potentially looking at hoping Luke Shaw isn't also on the treatment table. Does that then open the possibility to Diego Leon to possibly snatch some minutes from himself?
Maybe. I don't know what's going to happen with him. I don't know what's happening with Ari Amas as well, who I like. Yeah, I mean, I think what we spoke to Laurie from The Athletic a few months ago, and he said with Leon that the idea was they was bringing him in from Paraguay, give him pre-season and assess him after the pre-season games and see if he's, is he good enough to stay at United now? Does he go back to Paraguay? Does he go on loan to a championship club or whatever? So we'll have to wait and see. I'm not going to pretend. It's just wait and see. It's the honest answer. I have never watched Diego Leon in properly. I've seen a couple of clips, so I could not tell you how he's going to deal with the Premier League. Harry Amas, I think, has done quite well. He had one ropey game in the Premier League, but I like the lad. I think he's a good player. I don't know if he's going to get minutes. I don't know if the Ruben Amorim thinks he can trust him. But I think we'll see. We'll find out. It's a good question. I think you just got to be honest about it. I'd be lying if I could predict or tell you whether Leon's going to be good enough for the Premier League. He's a teenager who's just come from South America. So we'll have to wait and see.
Just the humour, Andrew. He did say that last season Garnacho was the only player that could get in behind the defence running. Obviously, with Mbeumo and Cunha potentially being there, that does change, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, go on, Mr. B.
No. I was gonna say I was leaning forward. I forgot what I was gonna wind up Andrew, but I'm gonna leave him. I'm gonna leave him. It's all right.
Use what? Sorry.
I was gonna wind up Andrew in the chat. He's been a little bitch, but I'll leave it. Just I'll leave it.
Right.
I'll leave it.
Okay.
Swear jar.
Fair enough. Yeah, look, Cunha's a great player. I like him. I think he's a danger. He's exciting. I just want to be excited, man. I just want to see a player who wants the ball, runs at defenders, scores goals, creates things, has a bit of an edge to him, maybe gets the odd booking or whatever, gets in a bit of a fight now and again. I don't mind all that. Give me something that's exciting rather than just losing the ball, arguing with each other in attack because you're not passing to each other, doing nothing and just being an embarrassment. Let's see a bit more of that sort of edge that has been missing from Manchester United. And Mbeumo is similar to that. He plays, I always say Mbeumo, the one word I'd describe him with is unfazed. He plays like he's playing with his mates. He's got that sort of just almost nonchalance about him. It's so easy to him. And it's not like he's not got energy or he hasn't got that spark. He just looks so relaxed when I've watched him. It's like he's just enjoying himself. Cool and you look at United, it's the fucking polar opposite. You watch Rasmus Højlund and tell me he's playing like someone who enjoys playing football. I'm not having a dig at Højlund, but he doesn't play with a smile on his face, does he? He looks like he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. He probably has. You look at Xerxes, maybe got a little bit of that. Garnacho certainly hasn't got that. Garnacho admitted there was a stage where he was celebrating when he scored. That's how bad it got for him. So it'd be nice to have players that want the ball, could do things with the ball, and look like they enjoy the football as well, because that's been missing. So yeah, in answer to your question, I think Ahmad is one of those players, who can run in, get in behind, and make things happen. And I think you get Mbumo in this front three. All of a sudden, it's a lot stronger. I think bringing in a player who's just scored 20 Premier League goals, I think that'd be a shout.
Andrew's asking, do you think it was a mistake that we stuck with Erik ten Hag so long and that we didn't move him on before last season started?
He asks this constantly, man. He was spamming that before. I think he was the same guy that was asking this last time I was on. Honestly, he's obsessed. He's got to move past Erik ten Hag, bro. Ruben Amorim's the manager now. Honestly. Do you know what I mean? The main thing is this manager and getting behind this manager and backing him properly. That's what you got to do. I think Ruben Amorim, I don't think would have maybe been on the radar as much as he was if it wasn't as well for that start he had. He had that undefeated start. And I think when they were looking at managers to bring in, that played a part in it, because he'd beaten Manchester City 4-1. He'd beaten, I don't know if it had been arranged before that. I think he'd won every game in the Portuguese league that season. So although his stock was high anyway, because he'd won 2 out of the last 4 titles, was it? At Sporting. It was that start as well where everyone was going, right, because Xavi was a big name, wasn't he, being linked with us. Then there was the argument about, I think Dan Ashworth was looking more at English managers. Yeah. People going, look at what Ruben Amorim is doing right now and has done. He's your guy. So I think you got to focus on that. And people need to move on from Erik ten Hag. I know we're still suffering with some of his signings, but it's all ifs and buts and maybes, isn't it, man?
Question from We Deserve Better. The constant dramatic outbursts in pressers, is that taking a toll on the club?
The what? The constant dramatic
outbursts in the press, the leaks, the drama about training, all the stories that we've been seeing the media talk about the failings of our club over the last 18 months or so. Is it wearing thin on the club? Is it affecting the morale in the squad?
If they were winning, it wouldn't.
So it's talking about Ruben Amorim now?
No, I'm the likes of Garnacho wearing the Rashford Villa jersey, the Sancho freedom fighter statements, all the stuff that we see leaked to the media over the last.
Oh right, sorry.
Don't let me start swearing, Rebel. I've done so.
I don't know, man. I think that it can do a little bit, but I think we can have a little bit of honesty, especially for the manager. I get all that. But I think with some of the players, like the Garnacho thing after the cup final was ill-advised, won it at best. I think he let his temper get the better of him. I think he's saying Amorim's outburst. I thought that was what he was getting at. I don't think it is an outburst. And I think that there was, I think with Amorim, he was being pretty honest about where we're at. When he said, like, we're the worst Man United team, I think he kind of explained it, but he was talking about in the Premier League, and we were. Do you know what I mean? Like we were the worst Man United team, and I think that there was an element of that from what he was saying. It was just him being honest. So I don't mind that. Do you know what I mean? I don't mind a manager who's coming and being honest, because people used to moan that Erik ten Hag was burying his head in the sand, and he was lying and being one of those where he'd just tell you what you wanted to hear, or he'd tell you constantly about his trophies, how he'd won these 2 trophies, and everyone's like, he's not being honest. Whereas Amorim is honest. So I think that is a bit of a refreshing change for me. And I think if Amorim came in a press conference and said, everything's hunky-dory, this team's amazing, I'm over the moon with everyone's performance, you'd think he was mentally ill. We're 15th and we've lost the cup final to Spurs. You've got to be honest. You've got to be like, look, this isn't good enough. We know that. And I think he's been right to say it. So I don't think it's really been a massive negative. I really don't.
I've only got one last question for you before I stop hogging Mr. B's
I can see
mic.
why Mr. B called that Andrew guy a bitch, by the way. He was a right knobhead, him, innit? I'm glad you pinned him off the chat. Fucking hell. I just seen it then. And he was just like spamming like Ineos apologist, you're all the same and all this. I thought he's having a breakdown, that dude. I'm glad you binned him off. Fucking hell. Andrew's a loser. He should change his habits. Andrew's a knobhead.
I'm glad you've actually done
Honestly,
that.
I didn't clock it and then I just seen it. I was like, right, is he on about him? That guy's a fucking idiot. And I was sticking up for him when you called him a bitch. You was being kind.
Now that you've embodied your inner Tony Soprano, if you were to look at a striker and you wanted to appoint your first lieutenant, your options are Calvert-Lewin, Aubameyang, Callum Wilson, and what was the other one? Jamie Vardy. Who are you pointing?
Jesus,
and who are you sending to steep the fishes?
God, you got another Andrew here. I wasn't sorry. There's another Andrew going here. I'm not talking about you. It's the other one in it, unless it's another guy.
I think that's a different one. I believe.
Oh,
yeah.
is it?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't this guy. It was the guy called Andrew's a loser. The same one. Someone's saying. Those options. Oh yeah, I think at this rate you can have no Andrews left in this chat. I want to answer it, man, because you've given me a question. I don't want to not answer it. I don't want to sit on the fence. All right, sorry, my missus said he had two accounts. I think it is the same guy. If I had to choose one of them, I'll look at it this way. I don't want to give you a politician's answer. I'll be honest, right? I always sort of flip it on its head. Which is the player I'd least like to face as a defender, or if it's United are facing whoever, who's the one out of those players you've mentioned you don't want to face? And I think out of all of them, I'd probably say Callum Wilson. I'm not a massive fan. 32, didn't score in the Premier League last season, and I don't want him. But you've given me what? Vardy? You've given me who is it? Vardy, Calvert-Lewin, and Callum Wilson. Is that the three options?
Vardy, Calvert-Lewin, Wilson, and just because I thought in your Twitter, Aubameyang.
Oh, Aubameyang.
Yeah.
Oh God. No, I'll go with I'll stick with Callum Wilson. I've not seen anything of Aubameyang recently, so I don't know. And also the guy was a bit of a flop towards the end of Arsenal one a few years ago. Bringing him into the Premier League for us now will be proper embarrassing. Callum Wilson, I think at least is a handful. And I know that's kind of what you say about shit player, innit? You say like, like as a shit player, you go, oh, he's an handful. Someone who's got like, a terrible touch and can't score goals. It's like, oh, he gets stuck in, he's an handful. Like, I've heard that a few times about players that are no good. But I think with Callum Wilson, he's at least got a little bit about him. And again, that's not much, but yeah, I think out of those three, I think Vardy, who has been a very good player in the Premier League era, has been someone who sort of gave everyone a little bit of hope, didn't he? Like, if you were 24 and you were still working on the building site, you looked at Jamie Vardy and you thought, you know what, one day I might play in the Premier League, because he was such a late starter. But I think he's done. I know he scored 7 Premier League goals last season. I think that's like okay, but I think a lot of those goals were early on in the season, and I think he went like a big sort of chunk of the season without scoring, admittedly in a very, very poor Leicester City side. So I I think out of the three, Calvert-Lewin, is it 1 goal in 24 games in the Premier League last season? Mad injuries as well. I'm not massively excited about that one. So I would probably go Callum. What about you, Rebel? You've got to give an answer as well.
Well, it was a soldier to fortune type question given the 4 options that were given. As you said, Aubameyang has been out in the Saudi Pro League, and we have no idea whether he's even capable of playing Premier League football, not to mention he's an ex-Gooner, so that would be probably an issue as well. Vardy, I think his legs are gone, and in reality, we would end up playing Cheeto more than him. I think Calvert-Lewin would be a buddy for Luke Shaw on the treatment table in the physio room. The physios would love it because we'd be keeping him in the job 24/7, 365. But like in the best of a bad lot, Callum Wilson probably teaching Cheeto the ways of the force is probably the best option.
Yeah. I get that. I think that is a point because Cheeto, you'd hope, is someone who in a year or two is going to be knocking on the door more regularly. So that could work. I also just think as well, if you've got Mbeumo and Cunha, if you get Mbeumo and they score goals, then your striker it's not as essential that they have to bang in 15, 20 goals. If they can just help hold the ball up and bring those players in, which Callum Wilson, I think, could do because he can bring in others around him. So look, I'm not saying we should get Callum Wilson because I think that would be a sideways move at best. I'm just saying out of the choices you gave me. I mean, it's like 2021 choices, isn't it? If this was 2021, you'd be all over him, wouldn't you? You'd be like, well, Jamie Vardy's still got something in him. Callum Wilson's banging him in. Aubameyang, yeah, I'll have a bit of that. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I think he just scored 16 goals in the Premier League in 2021. But between like all those players you mentioned, the last 2 or 3 years, they've got barely any.
Actually,
I like this. I like that comment. Cunha, Xerxes can do it, can't they? Especially if you get a Bruno in. I don't think that's a terrible option. I think a front three of Xerxes, Cunha, and Mbeumo could work.
As long as Rasmus is nowhere near the pitch, I don't care who they play.
You're not a fan of Ireland?
I think he's a bag of shit. I think he's terrible. I think he is absolutely disgusting as a footballer. The basics he can't. The things you say about Callum Wilson in regards to holding up the ball, that's my number one priority, even at my level of football. If your striker can't hold the ball, the wrestling part of it is petty, but the actual basics of football at that level, I don't think he has. So the sooner he goes, the better. I think that two key positions, like you said, was up front and at the back. We get those replaced, then we're good. Jay, we've had you on here for an hour and 3 minutes. You've had half abuse. Your missus has got into an argument with a bitch. Apologies for that.
Now, don't worry about that, mate. My missus can look after herself. Don't worry about that. She's a mother of 3 from Salford. She don't worry. Don't watch her.
She's married to you as well. God bless her.
She's not soft. Don't stress that.
Jay, I'm going to tell you a technical word we have for the likes of Mr. Williams there. In Ireland, we call him gobshites.
No, listen, everyone, everyone's entitled to their opinion and fair enough. But other than that nonsense, it's been good chatting to you guys, man. It is a bit of a worry at the minute, but I don't think it's quite panic stations. I feel like it is still only the 8th of July. Sorry, I wish it was the 8th of June. 8th of July. There's still a long way to go in this window. And I do feel like if we got Mbeumo done, all of a sudden there'd be a lot more confidence about the gaff. I feel like we'd be like, okay, you've brought in 2 goal-scoring attackers now with Premier League pedigree in Cunha and Mbeumo. All of a sudden, it feels a little bit differently. It's when it's just the one signing, because Leon's one for the future, that you start thinking, what's going on here? Especially when you see Liverpool buying Florian Wirtz and Jeremy Frimpong and Milos Kerkez. You see Arsenal about to get, I think if they've not done it already, Gyökeres over the line. City have brought in Shirky, Rangers, is it? And Nori. They've done bits. That's when you start to think, come on, what's going on here? Do you know what I mean? So it is a little bit frustrating, but I think we'll be all right.
We do have one last bit of housekeeping to do.
There you go, God.
Solo, I'm not entertaining Fred questions. Absolutely not. No way. Not doing it. But we are on the road to 4K, and as we said, we are giving away a United jersey if we get there before the start of the season. But for the members, as Jay is here, we've got our mitts on, a signed Robbo jersey, certificate of authentication, the whole shebang. And I believe the number is if we get to 50 members, one of you lucky people will be getting said Robbo jersey.
I've got 3 accounts, so I'm actually allowed to win. I'm just putting it out there now. And it's life. If you call it a fix, then fine, apologies. But if I have the chance to win that shirt, I'm taking it. Sorry, Rebel.
Are you joking? Are you being serious?
Nah,
I don't know if you're joking.
No, I'm joking. I'm 100% joking. I'm 100% joking. I'm 100% joking.
It's going to be funny when the winner is Mrs. B.
We deserve better. There's 2 jerseys being given away. One is for anyone that's subscribed, and the signed Robbo jersey is for membership. And the higher the tier the membership, the more entries it gets you.
Right, okay. So what are the tiers?
Colin did change them. Let me just have a quick shifty over here.
Oh, see, you've done him now with that question.
Sorry, I thought it'd be like, I didn't mean to stitch you up. I thought if I asked you, you'd be like, the tiers are academy, first team, or whatever, like what we have on Paddock. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, Rebel. Sorry, I wouldn't have asked if I didn't think the answer was easy.
We have first team player, and I actually don't have the rest of the names. But I think there's 2 tiers.
So the tiers are first team and another tier.
Essentially, yeah.
Which may or may not be higher than first team. We don't know. It's a grey area. The tiers are first team and either legend or academy. It's one or the other. Like it's above or below first team. Yeah. All right, that's fair enough. How much is the membership for the first team?
Yeah.
How much is the membership?
Yeah, that's not an answer. Yeah.
How much is it? It's a quid.
There you go.
A quid.
And
right.
You also, with that £1, you also have the option to come and talk to me on a Friday. Camera or no camera, it's no problem. So that's another perk for being a member.
Okay. So you get the chance to chat to Mr. B. It's £1 for a monthly membership. And you get the chance to win a signed Brian Robson shirt.
Solo is after correcting me, there's 3 tiers.
Oh, don't take no notes of Solo. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's been talking about Fred all day. He's been talking about a whole load of nonsense, trying to get me frustrated, trying to get me to swear in the WhatsApp group. We've had Jay on here for far too long. This is what we're saying. We've had him on here for far too long. Jay, I love you, man.
Love you, brother. It's been good chatting to you.
Yeah, man.
It's been good seeing Solo in there as well, telling everyone how we're getting on. There's 3 tiers, and also his Fred GoFundMe thing. I've missed that. When is he back on here anyway?
He's just a busy man. He jumps on during the day a lot of the time. Well, a lot of the time. The last 2 times it's on during the day when we're all at work and we can't all join him. So I don't know if he's taking it personal. I don't know if he's fallen out of love with us, Solo. But yeah, we've got to link up. I'm telling Solo now live. We got to link up soon, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. Let us know when you guys are at Old Trafford, man. Because I know you get to the games now and again, and we'll all meet up. Get you in the Paddock studio.
Yeah, that's fantastic, fantastic. With all you tall people, that'll be. Thanks a lot, Jay.
Thanks a lot for having me on.
I'm gonna need my booster seat.
Yeah, go on.
Guys, Jay, Thank you as always, man. Really appreciated, man.
I appreciate having me on, and good luck with the tiers as well, man. The 1, the 2, or the 3, whatever it is, the tiers.
Guys, thanks for watching. We will be back tomorrow at 9 o'clock. We are out.
Nice.